Well, I think that most people, sort of discover rock music when they're an adolescent. You're kind of in this adolescent angst, and you're basically looking for identity. And what a, great rock album will do is sort of suggest another world, another possibility, a larger, greater, more romantic place than you're at. And so I think it's almost a rite of passage for teenagers to really closely identify with rock stars and their heroes. And what they want to imagine is that Robert Plant or, Bruce Springsteen or Kurt Cobain, sort of have the great glamorous life that they don't, sitting in their little room in their parents' house, trying to deal with math homework. I think we have a tendency, particularly, I think it's also true for adolescent girls, but maybe even stronger with adolescent boys, because we're so desperate to find some kind of identity at that point on where our life is going to go. So I think, we go through that rite of passage, and that's really where a lot of fan obsession begins. I know for me, when I was 15, it was Neil Young, Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, and those were the artists that, their records really moved me. They suggested worlds that were greater, wider, more beautiful, more romantic than the world that I lived in, which was in a tiny little town in eastern Washington, not really all that unlike Aberdeen. It was kind of funny in researching my book to find out that Kurt Cobain's, sort of initial, exposure to a wider stream of music came from belonging to the Columbia Record and Tape Club, where he would just get these records sent to him automatically every month. And, I was a few years older than Kurt, but I had belonged to that same record and tape club, and that was some of my initial exposure. So I think that, everybody goes through that phase. Everybody that gets music or becomes a music fan goes through that phase. Some people, however, of course, take it too far. They become obsessed. It becomes the focus of their life. Other people find other aspects of life and evolve into adults. But I think there is something pretty universal about going through adolescence, the search for identity, and that's the time where most people I know forge their strongest connections to music. It seems that people that really got into musicians when they were a teenager, generally 20, 30, 40, now even 50 years later, stay connected to those performers. I mean, when you go to Graceland and you see the people that are 75 years old that are there, waiting to walk through Elvis's grave, these are people that essentially were in their 20s when Elvis first hit, and it had that impact on them too.
Mm.